S Word, featuring Will Gavin and Master Tess Fassian. And a squad of big-name contributors. The S Word from talkSPORT.
Well, a very good morning to our friends stateside and welcome to the S Word. Brought to you by talkSPORT, the talkSPORT S Word YouTube channel. Myself, Will Gavin, and the great Master Tess Fassian.
You haven't knocked over the water bottle yet, so we're off to a great start.
It's basically its own sound effect. It's not that, but if you hear this during the show, you'll know where it's coming from. Throwing me from moment one. I'm worse than Spurs at home right now. On today's show, we're going to look back at the 1-1 draw between Tottenham and Leeds, and Spurs failed that chance to move 4 points away from the relegation zone. Chris Cowlin will join us. We're going to travel to the stateside, speak to a buddy of yours, Zito
Madu. Can't wait to talk to him. He's fit 30 days until the World Cup. I got a lot to discuss.
talkSPORT understands Jose Mourinho is basically all but done. So performs John Hernandez is going to join us. And if you've not seen it or heard it, brilliant interview with Paul Scholes on Breakfast this morning. He talks a little about Elliot Anderson and how he'd be the perfect signing for Man United. There's this ongoing tussle with Anderson. Is it going to be City? Is it going to be United? We'll break it down. Angelina Kelly will join us in the studio. That and so much more here on the S Word. Let's start with the action in North London last night, though. Not the perfect result for Arsenal fans, but also not the end of the world.
For Arsenal fans or Tottenham fans?
Well, for Arsenal fans. We'll get onto the Tottenham fan of it. I'm just wondering how you're feeling about everything this morning.
I mean, we threw Tottenham a lifeline, taking 3 points from West Ham, and they couldn't take advantage of the opportunity.
Stealing 3 points from West Ham, that's
Spurs,
what I heard.
Classic Spurs.
Now
they're crying about the officials.
They missed the chance to move 4 points clear from West Ham at the Tottenham Stadium last night, and this is how it sounded on talkSPORT.
It is officially West Ham or Tottenham Hotspur for the drop.
We didn't play a great game because I think we felt too much the pressure.
Flicked away by Biol towards Tell, who strikes it from the edge of the area into the far corner.
Great precision. It's a wonderful finish. Moment of the night.
To Richarlison over the top. Oh, what a chance to make it 2-0. And then that's a stupid challenge by Mattis Tell, who tries to do an overhead kick and kicks Ampadu. It's a clearer penalty as you will ever see. 73 on the clock. Calvert-Lewin rams it past the goalkeeper. Leads a level.
Fighting for the relegation is not like fighting for the qualifying Champions League, you know.
Here's Longstaff, played in by Justin. Longstaff hits the underside of the bar in the 98th minute. Another angst-ridden, tense night at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham Hotspur's stay in the Premier League is still hanging by a thread. Tottenham 1, Leeds 1.
So after West Ham were unfortunate not to get anything against Arsenal on Sunday, Spurs do widen the gap, but to only 2 points. With 2 games of the season remaining, Tottenham go away to Chelsea next Tuesday, home to Everton to finish the season, West Ham at Newcastle this weekend, and then face Leeds at home. The positives? 7 points from the last 3 games, 2 wins, 2 draws in his first 5 for De Zerbi, but they are now the team with just 2 wins in 18 at home, with the worst home record in the whole of the Premier League. Master, why can't Spurs do it at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium after back-to-back wins on the road?
I have no idea. Maybe the tension in the building had something to do with it, the nerves of the fans. I thought the support at the start of the match was actually very encouraging, but perhaps, as De Zerbi said in the beautiful soundbite that we had recapping the match, the nerves and the tension maybe was a bit too much. The pressure to make sure that they stay in the Premier League maybe was a bit too much for the players, too much for the fans. They were in the perfect opportunity to really grab this unfortunate circumstance that they're in with West Ham losing to Arsenal to really not all but guarantee themselves staying in the Premier League, and they fell short. And I don't know what you thought about the penalty on. There's 2 penalties, I guess. The one on Tell, the bicycle kick he attempted, and of course, what Tottenham fans are upset about at the end, James Maddison, whether he was deserved a penalty or not. You know, you are Mr. PGMLOL, so I got to turn to you for this one. I don't know what you felt about each one of those decisions, but you know, it clearly had some sort of impact on the result of this game.
Yeah, listen, again, just like with anything, if penalties are given, as we spent all of yesterday talking about after the action at the London Stadium, they're not the reason that Spurs would go down. They're not the reason that Leeds would survive, the reason West Ham would survive, or anything else. the Mateo penalty, it's a penalty. He's the most frustrating player. Like,
That's a tough one. That's a tough one to call, though.
His first half performance, no other Tottenham player had more touches in the final third. He picked that ball up, he'd run at players. Yes, he'd always cut back on his right, but the delivery was so poor. I was getting so frustrated watching him in that first half, which was, let's be honest, an underwhowing first half in general.
That was so boring.
And then
that was such a boring first half. For all the energy Tottenham fans had going into it, they took the life out of that stadium.
And it did.
It was awful. That first half was awful.
And you're exactly that. It sucks all of the air out of the stadium. It's the same team that they started against Aston Villa, and yet all of that endeavour, all of that work rate, all of that effort that we saw in that game, it just didn't come across to this home game.
No.
And, you know, Richarlison, who looked brilliant the week before, looked sluggish, slow, wrong positions constantly. Koulibaly couldn't put a foot on the ball and keep possession for love nor money. Like, he was lucky if he'd win a throw any time he got the ball, let alone actually get decent balls into the box. The midfield, yes, they, again, Conor Gallagher and Giappellini, there's a lot of running there. Bentancur as well. You know, they showed legs throughout the game, but at no point was there any quality. And then you get to those moments in the second half. Mateo Stell has an unbelievable strike to put them ahead. The little slither of quality being the difference between a team who very much already felt like they were on the beach versus a team that are fighting for relegation. But to attempt basically a bicycle kick in your own box when you're fourth from bottom, only a point away from relegation, it's just a moment of utter madness. It beggars belief what goes through your head in that situation when you're under no direct threat. When even if you've raised to head the ball and you've lost that header, there's no other player around you, no Leeds player who's going to win that second ball, no Leeds player who's posing a direct threat. It wasn't a do or die moment, and you got lucky if you didn't kick a guy in the face. I just do not understand what he was... Like, maybe he's feeling himself a bit after the goal and he's like, I'm going to go for a little fancy clearance here. Just mad.
You know what I like to call that? Irrational confidence.
As an American, you know all about irrational confidence.
As a Texan, I know all about irrational confidence. And that right there, after scoring that kind of goal, you're feeling yourself. You all of a sudden, you want to do some things that are maybe a bit outside of your comfort zone. That was irrational confidence. It was harsh. It was a harsh penalty. It was a deserving penalty. And it changed the outcome of the game, because up until that point, I thought Tottenham was going to be able to pull this off in some capacity, at least 1-0, and take all 3 points. You deal with that penalty. Dominic Calvert-Lewin steps up, scores, Leeds. I told you yesterday, everyone was wondering if Leeds was going to be on the beach or not. When you prepare for a match with that level of circumstances, not knowing whether you're going to be safe or not, it's very difficult for professional players, for professional coaches, to all of a sudden just switch it off the night before a match. And you could see Leeds, people might have been surprised by the performance and the effort that Leeds gave into that, but that was probably going to be their final match that they could get up for, and they did. And they matched the intensity from Tottenham and matched the effort and performance, and ultimately I felt like a draw was worthy of the performance from both sides. Now, we have to get into this penalty, though, at the end, because I know De Zerbi was frustrated afterwards. Tottenham fans feeling outraged. They're feeling as if the result that happened at Arsenal had some sort of impact on this. On first instance, I didn't think it was a penalty, and I've tried to watch as many replays and instant reviews as I can, slow-mo, zooming in, and I don't know if it's clear and obvious who touched the ball first or where the contact was made. So I understand why they left a call on the field as is, because that was not a very easy call to make, nor was it very obvious what was going on there.
I'm sure it's more entertaining for our wonderful viewers on YouTube and everywhere else if we disagree on this, but I couldn't agree with you more here. And Spurs fans, I feel your pain, right? You are in a relegation battle. You feel like everything's going against you. You feel like the world is on top of you. You've only won 2 games at home in that spectacular stadium all season long. But you compare it to what happened on Sunday, and my frustration when you call me Mr. PGMOL is that when you make the decision to overturn the decision on the field, it has to be the whole thing. Minimum interference, maximum impact, clear and obvious. And the reason I didn't feel it was clear and obvious on Sunday was because of all the other shenanigans going on that took that obvious element away from it, even if the direct foul itself is a correct call, if that's in a bubble, if that's his own thing, right? This occasion, they did show on TV a replay about 40 minutes later from behind, zoomed in, that made it clear that James Maddison won the ball, that he got a foot on it, he took the ball away, and actually Amecha didn't get the last touch, right? But that's 40 minutes later, and we're watching it on like a 15th angle we've seen, and it's slowed right down, and in the moment, I thought he won the ball. I thought that's a great tackle. There is always that argument because you've gone through the back of the man, even if you do win the ball, is it still a foul? And quite often you'd see that given. If that's at the halfway line, you're probably going to see that given as a foul. But you've got to have a higher standard when it's a penalty, right? And I just think if he gives the decision on the field, if the referee stands there and says penalty in the moment that happens and VAR watch it and they overturn it, I think Spurs fans would have something to gripe about. But I think they wouldn't have done. I think they would have watched it and gone, referee's decision on it, it's not enough for us to change it. And I think that's exactly what happened here. It's like sticking with the umpire's decision in cricket. It's like in the NFL when they talk about like sticking with the decision on the field, not picking the flag up. Everything else, it is just, you cannot overturn a decision that big without spending half an hour looking at it, and nobody wants that. People complain when it's 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Nobody wants it to be 40 minutes because that's how long it took to find the right angle from the TV truck.
And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, he is Mr. PGMOL right there. A beautiful explanation. What more is there to say about the situation? And also,
no, I'm just saying, whoever it is on the other end of the phone, pick it up, and I'll come down to Stockley Park. I'll tell you how it's done.
The other part too, Tottenham had so much time to try and find the game winner for it to come down to the final minutes, which it was great to see James Maddison back on the pitch. We should acknowledge that he's dealt with unfortunate string of injuries over the last couple of years.
I've got a real love-hate relationship with James Maddison.
Why is that?
In the same feeling I had about Matthias Tell, in the same way I feel about Brennan Johnson when he was there, in the same way I feel about Kulusevski, in the same way I feel about... Tottenham seem to sign these players who, on their best day, can look absolutely world-class, look like the best player in the Premier League, tear any team apart, go up against top-tier opposition and just make them look like men against boys, and then can just disappear, not just from games, but from entire stretches of games. And Maddison has this tendency, and if you look at his record over the years, start seasons hot, tends to get lots of assists, lots of goals in those first 2-3 months, and then tends to sit right around the middle of the table on those things by the end of the season. And I really thought last night he came on, lifted the stadium,
100%,
made great forward runs, made incisive passes, was direct, showed some quality from set pieces. James Maddison played well coming off the bench last night. If I'm a Tottenham fan and I'm looking at if they survive this season, who goes, who stays, who we want to build our team off, I don't know. Maddison will probably end up staying in that situation, but I don't know if he's a guy I want to build my team around.
You need cover because you can't rely on his durability at this point. His availability is the biggest question mark that he has. He's a great facilitator. He's great at passing, set pieces. He can do a lot of great things as a very creative midfielder, but his availability is the biggest question. And you talked about this.
It's the greatest ability. Availability.
You talked about, it's interesting you mentioned about the Tottenham players that kind of have this.
I looked so smug with myself on the little video there. I saw it. I'm sorry.
Did you pan straight to the camera?
Yeah. You know, the greatest ability is availability. I don't know if you've heard that, guys. Completely deserved.
Nice job, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
You talked about the same caliber of players that Tottenham has signed, and there was an interesting article I read on ESPN this morning from Ryan O'Halloran about how bad analytics have built a Tottenham team that might get relegated. And I'm not Mr. Analytical Nerd here.
You love the XG. Yeah. Don't pretend like you don't. You're the king of XG. By the way, Spurs XG at home this season is like 0.51, which is the worst in the Premier League of any team of like since they invented the statistic. It's madness.
I'm glad you claimed your rightful crown as the nerd of the show. Because I was about to one-up you on this one, but you came in and you came... Come at the king, you best not miss.
I heard it on talkSPORT Daily. You go and subscribe. It's a great podcast.
But there was an interesting stat in here about Tottenham's major issue is that they simply can't pass. And in this article, they reference how Gradient Sports ranks passers of each player on a scale of -2 to +2 scale. And then based off this evaluation, Tottenham's 5 best passers, there's only 2 in the top 150 of the Premier League.
I bet they're defenders as well.
They are. Christian Romero's 19th. He's the best passer on Tottenham. And then Mickey van de Ven is 87th.
And actually, if you look at, and yes, I am going to go into nerd territory here.
Go ahead. I'll open up the door.
If you look at the Premier League 5 years ago versus now, 5 years ago, you look at those top 10 lists of great passers, and they are all creative midfielders.
100%.
You look at that list now, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 are defenders playing out from the back. It's another example of where the Premier League has moved to. And so absolutely not stunned that Tottenham's two best passers are their two best centre-backs.
But you need that. You need those defenders that can break lines. And that is so crucial, as you mentioned, for teams now playing out of the back. But you also need the creative midfielders who can take those passes from the defenders and progress the advancement of play. And the rest of this list, Destiny Udogie, who's injured, he's 152nd. Danzo, another defender, 167. Their best midfielder, a passer, is Mohamed Kudus, 186th, and he's also injured. So the absence of James Maddison, as you saw in a very, very small cameo that he made, he proved to be a difference maker just due to the simple fact of his ability to create. And so maybe it's encouraging for Tottenham in these final two fixtures that maybe he can, again, he didn't play much, but if he can ramp up and give them something over the next couple matches, maybe they'll have just enough to be able to get it over the line and stay safe. But it is going to be a very tight and close relegation race that they could have put this to bed. I think that's the thing that Tottenham fans have to be frustrated with. They should have put this to bed at home, haven't won at home since December 6th. They've been playing well away from their home stadium. A chance here, 3 points for a team that's already safe. They had an opportunity to put this thing to bed. And now they're leaving up for chance once again.
Should we actually, let's hear from Roberto De Zerbi, the Tottenham manager, speaking with our very own Sam Matterface after the game last night and having a bit of a back and forth on those late decisions.
Maybe we suffer too much, like the referee, because the referee, I think, suffered too much pressure as well.
You talk to me about that. What do you mean specifically? Did you think that the penalty should have been given late in the game?
No, I'm not speaking about the Madison penalty. I'm speaking in general at the beginning of the game until the end of the game. He played a good game, not to change the result, but I felt, maybe I'm wrong, but I felt not to see the referee calm, no?
Why do you think that was? Do you think that because of yesterday's drama around referees that he wasn't calm?
Too polemic yesterday. It was a foul, clear foul.
There you go. Very, very strong from Roberto De Zerbi on that decision. Chris Cowlin's going to join the show coming up shortly. We'll get his take on what De Zerbi had to say. Just before we come off this game, though, very quickly, though, Antonin Kinski, 23 years old, right? When he first came into the club in January last year, do you remember he came in and had that unbelievable performance against Liverpool in the EFL Cup semi-final, where you've only signed 3 days earlier. You're 21 years old. You know, the bright lights and everything else of a cup semi-final, and he was just sensational. And then you think back to March, Atletico Madrid, one of the worst first halves a goalkeeper has suffered in living memory, subbed off as a goalkeeper in a Champions League knockout game.
Igor Tudor deserves a lot of blame for killing his confidence at that point. He thought he was done in the water at that point.
And yet last night, I mean, arguably Spurs' best player under De Zerbi over these 5 games. He's been brilliant throughout. He is, like, already at this point one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League at playing out from the back. And that save from Longstaff to tip it onto the bar from absolute point-blank range very well could be the difference between Spurs surviving and not.
That save, we've had 2 tremendous saves in North London over the last couple of days from Arsenal, David Raya at the West Ham, and then Kinksey yesterday. I thought that save yesterday was a bigger save than what David Raya did. And I know it's hard for me to admit, but as you mentioned, the power behind that shot and the cat-like reflection to just get a paw on it and bouncing off the woodwork. I thought that if Tottenham stays up, you're going to look back at that save and say what an incredible 180 moment that is for Kinksey to save Tottenham's chances.
My mind is blown. This is an Arsenal fan saying that a save that might have earned you the Premier League for the first time in 22 years, and maybe the Kinski save is marginally a better save. I think they're both pretty special.
Both tremendous saves.
Unbelievable.
Both tremendous saves.
But to say that's the bigger impact is quite the claim. I would have picked the David Raya one. I'm not going to lie, just because of what it means to Arsenal, the history, the length of time without one of those 2 major trophies, or without the major trophy as far as they're concerned. Like that.
If Tottenham drops 3 points at Leeds at home, how devastating is that? Like to salvage a point in the situation, they're still in control.
And it's not done by any stretch of the
imagination. No, it's not done at all. It's not done at all.
Because they've still got to face Everton at home on the last day of the season. And as much as Everton will be firmly on the beach, I'm sure, Spurs can't win games at home.
And they got Chelsea as well at Stamford Bridge. So the 2 fixtures that Tottenham will still need to get results for. But to salvage a point in that situation when you desperately needed something at home. I think that one will go down in infamy if Tottenham stays up. That was a tremendous save, and one that will change the entire complexity of the relegation race.
We're going to get more into the David Raya conversation coming up this week, because we're going to discuss some claims from Master yesterday. This idea that he is the best goalkeeper in Europe, and yet he's the third choice goalkeeper for Spain's World Cup squad. Bizarre, but we'll get into that.
Make it make sense, Spain.
We'll get.
¿Por qué?
We're going to get a great goalkeeper on. We're not sure who yet, but we're going to get a great goalkeeper on. Maybe Shaka Hislop, just because I love him very dearly.
Love Shaka.
Coming up on today's show, though, we've got Chris Cowling joining the show to talk all things Spurs. We're going to be joined in the studio by Angelina as we talk about Elliot Anderson's landing spot this summer. We'll start our USA World Cup build-up with some great guests from out in the States. And, of course, we cannot ignore Jose Mourinho is almost at this point certain to be the next Real Madrid manager. We'll touch on that later this hour here on The S Word.
If I speak, I am in big trouble.
The S Word with Will Gavin and Master Tesfacion from talkSPORT. show for people who love football in North America. And I mean the proper kind, where you only use your feet. The S Word from talkSPORT.
Getting absolute pelters from the other side of the glass because I've just done my hair. What's wrong with that? It was too floppy. I didn't like it. He's absolutely lost it. Sam on the other side of the glass. Two Team Sammy. We haven't heard from him on our predictions. We didn't do that yesterday.
No, we didn't. No. I mean, I nailed it. So I thought that was a production decision on your end to push that till Friday.
Thankfully, I got the Barcelona result, which basically saved my weekend. Yes. You are watching the S Word here on talkSPORT via the S Word YouTube channel or via talkSPORT S Word. This is the show that branches the gap across the pond ahead of the greatest and biggest that's biggest, not greatest, World Cup of all time.
It could be the greatest too.
It could be. It might be. I mean, I was looking at the schedules for the tournament coming up like over the summer for which games we're going to take, because all 104 games are live on the talkSPORT network. And I was looking at and taking a look at exactly what games we were carrying on talkSPORT and on talkSPORT 2. There is one night where our lineup of games is at 8 p.m. Senegal, Iraq, at 1 a.m. Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia.
Can't wait.
And at 5 a.m. Egypt, Iran.
Habibi.
Like, that is...
Mashallah, as they say.
I think it's going to be a fun World Cup, but I think, is there going to be a lot of upsets? Is there going to be an issue of quality in the group stage?
Don't underestimate these countries.
Well?
Don't. This is the time for them to shine. That's what the World Cup is. Do not underestimate these countries. That's all I'm going to say. I
hope you say a lot more than that. We've got to fill 11 weeks of shows, mate.
I'm saying right now, that's all I got. 30 days before the World Cup. But I promise you, do not sleep on the countries. The Cape Verdes, don't sleep on them. Don't Egypt, Iran, don't sleep on these countries. There will be upsets. I guarantee there'll be upsets.
Well, look, Zito Madu will join us in the show a little bit later on. We'll get into some World Cup chat. But 30 days from today, that all kicks off. But back to the massive game last night. Tottenham missing their chance to put West Ham one step closer to the Championship and put some real life between them and the relegation zone after that 1-1 draw. And I'm delighted to say that host of the Spurs Chat podcast, Chris Cowlin, joins the show now. Chris, how are you doing, sir? How are you feeling? 7 points from the last nine's a good result, right?
Will Master, yeah, good morning, good afternoon to you. Nice to be on with you. Frustrated last night. It was a must-win. How many times have us Spurs fans said it is a must-win this season? But, Roberto De Zerbi has come in. He deserves huge credit because we could have been gone by now. He has picked up points for us in the last 4 games, 2 wins, 2 draws. We perhaps should have won, both the home games under him in the league, but we haven't won at home in the league for 5 months. And as we all know, it's going to be now a very nervous 12 days, the remaining, 12 days of this Premier League campaign, and Spurs need to give absolutely everything. All eyes are on Sunday's game. Of course, West Ham travel to Newcastle. But, I want to sit here and be really positive. But the 2 games that we have left, Chelsea away, we've won once there in 36 years. That was in 2018. The previous win there, you'd need to go back to 1990, Gary Lineker scoring for us. And, the other game, the last game of the season, Everton at home. And like I just said, we haven't won at home in the Premier League for 5 months. So I tell you what, it's going to be a dramatic 12 days, I think.
Just imagine this, though, Chris. And I'm getting so ahead of my skis here, it's unbelievable. And we'll talk about last night, I promise you. Imagine West Ham go to Newcastle and lose on Sunday. And then you go on the road to Stamford Bridge on Tuesday. They're hurting after the FA Cup
It'd be amazing.
final. And you guarantee your Premier League survival with a win over one of your fiercest rivals, a team who have dominated you over the years. I mean, we're talking about Rory Jennings on this very station saying that it would be as big as winning a cup competition to him if they got to relegate Spurs, and you could flip it on their heads. I think that's a glorious thing. That's a glorious thing.
I like you. I tell you what, I've got goosebumps you saying that. Goosebumps. That'd be absolutely incredible. That really would. Of course, Chelsea are playing the FA Cup final. Let's hope that, they're all tired from that game to go into Tuesday's game. But of course, we know that, that Chelsea and Tottenham game is going to be absolutely huge. This is a stadium where I absolutely hate going to, by the way. This is, big rivalry. And of course, they stopped us winning the Premier League 10 years ago. And, they could have a big hand in relegating Spurs. But I just really hope that De Zerbi's Tottenham really do turn up and we see a performance like we did at Aston Villa a week or so ago.
So what is it about being at home that this team has struggled? Hasn't had a win since December 6th.
2-18.
Despite all the managers that have come by and all the hope and optimism that De Zerbi could finally get 3 points at home, why has it not happened?
Yeah, Master, it's been a very, very tough campaign. Thomas Frank, of course, came in. We couldn't really get going under Thomas Frank at all. He should have gone out the door a lot sooner, in my opinion. Igor Tudor come in for a 44-day stint. That was a waste of time. De Zerbi, as I said, we've played twice at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the Premier League, and I feel like we were unlucky not to win. Both of those games. We should have been a little bit more clinical in the final third. But when you look at the forward line, that needs to be a lot better. But I just feel like there's, players have underperformed this campaign, particularly at home. I feel like some of the players are nervous. You could go down the route of saying that we've had so many injuries. That is another thing that needs to be addressed by the football club in the summer. The recruitment has been poor, but the injury record has been, a disaster, under Ange Postecoglou last season and under 3 managers this season. So there are a mixture of different reasons, but I do love the way that De Zerbi has come in. And he said, no time for excuses. We can't cry about it. We're not relegated yet. And let's face it, we're sitting here. We are 2 points above the drop zone. So it is still in Tottenham's hands. So it is about delivering in these final 2 games and every single player being up for it.
Our American followers will understand this, but there's not a power station anywhere near your training facility or anything like that.
I was going to look, but Real Madrid's deals with the same situation too. It's just very interesting. These multi-purpose stadiums in Tottenham and Real Madrid, unfortunately, dealing with a ton of injuries. It just doesn't make any sense.
I do want to know though. All that talk about, De Zerbi's come in, said no excuses, passed off in the injuries, and look, it's the same team that played Villa and was so good a week earlier. He did last night here on talkSPORT take some digs at the referee and essentially suggest that the difference between what happened on Sunday maybe affecting the refereeing go forwards could have had an effect on this game. You've got to talk to us about your take on the penalty incident, both of them, and the take on just the entire refereeing performance last night.
Yeah, well, I think both of them are penalties, actually. And I know you're going to probably laugh and say, well, you're a Spurs fan. You're going to say that, last minute penalty, was a penalty. But I think it was. And when you're talking about the referee, Jared Gillett, I thought that was a terrible performance, by the way. And refereeing and officiating this season in the Premier League, not just Spurs games, I think has been at an all-time low. I think it has been really, really poor quality. And it's interesting because you mentioned about the referee. He went over to, inside the first 15 minutes, the linesman, the fourth official, and the referee all went over to De Zerbi 3 different instances, and basically said to him, "Do not come out of that technical area." And De Zerbi said in the press conference as well, the referee said to me very early on, "If you come out, you're going to get yellow carded." Now, who do we see running down the touchline every single game? I'll let you tell me rather than me tell you. But come on,
Master, the man between us, as you look at it on screen,
is absolutely ridiculous. There's one rule for one and another rule for another, and refereeing this season has been terrible. But Jared Gillett had a really poor game last night, in my opinion.
Chris, I will agree with you to an extent because actually, I think on reflection and watching it back and everything else, I do think it was a penalty. I think that James Maddison got a touch on the ball, but I also believe that if he doesn't make that decision on the field, I don't like VAR overturning that. The whole point of it being in place is clear and obvious, and it took 30 minutes to find the right angle on TV last night before they could show us that Maddison definitely touched the ball first. And so, yes, the on-field decision maybe needs to be better, but there's a lot of Spurs fans getting angry about VAR in our mentions, and I really don't think that they did the wrong thing last night. I think they shouldn't have overturned it either way. If you'd given it, I also don't think they should have taken it away.
I agree with that too.
I think VAR performed its job correctly last night. Not sure that
once again
I can say the same about the referees.
We haven't had a penalty in 36 games in the Premier League this campaign, so I think that says it all.
I mean, it probably says more about the performance of Spurs than it does the officiating. But you find yourself in this position, and after West Ham dropping 3 points, only taking a point from this, what is the sentiment from Spurs fans at this point with 2 matches left? Was it nervous going into this match? Is it any better now, knowing you're still in control? How do Spurs fans feel today? Referees aside.
Yeah, there's a lot of nerves, and I think we're all feeling very, very anxious because, I'm not being arrogant about this. Spurs should never be in this position. We finished 17th last year, won the Europa League, and winning the Europa League was meant to be a springboard of success, and transfer windows haven't been good enough at all. I could sit here for hours talking about transfer windows, but, we felt very nervous going into this game. But then some people felt confident that we were going to, really show up and get the 3 points. But Leeds last night, this was no easy game. Leeds are one of the most informed Premier League teams at the moment, and this wasn't an easy game. They were certainly up for the fight. And, some of the neutrals said that, they'd be sitting on the beach. It's okay, they're safe. It's between West Ham and Spurs. They weren't sitting on the beach at all. That was a hard game against Leeds United. They gave absolutely everything. But as I said earlier, full focus now. All Spurs fans will be drinking Newcastle Brown Ale on Sunday and Sam White Man. So it's all about Newcastle. We'll all be Newcastle fans on Sunday for sure.
That's the most Cockney sounding Geordie I've ever sounded. Are we saying White Man?
That's it.
How do you inject a bit of quality? Like with all the injuries, with everything else going on, I think what really told between the Villa game, and maybe it is the problem of being away from home and the style of play versus being at home, but man, particularly the first half, it was frustrating to watch that team operate in the final third.
Well, do you know what, Will? You talk about the Aston Villa game. De Zerbi has got the best out of some of the players which haven't been performing this season. Conor Gallagher, for instance, his performance against Aston Villa was sensational. You guys mentioned Kinski before I come on. A couple of world-class saves last night. So, he's getting the best out of some of these players. We can't sit here and keep crying about injuries and keep saying about injuries, because we are missing key players. But as I also referenced, the three up front, Richarlison, Tell, Mawani, there is a real quality difference. When you talk in recent years, when you've had the likes of Son and Kane, to now going to Mawani, Richarlison and Tell with respect, there is a real quality difference. And
no one thinks you're being disrespectful after watching last night. I promise you that, Chris. No. I do promise you that.
Not at all. Well, but what I would say is if we do get over the line and we are a Premier League team for next season, and I will reference the transfer window again, Spurs need to show real ambition and real quality needs to come in the door.
But they've tried, though. I feel like every summer we hear Spurs being tied to certain players, and one reason or another, they never are able to get it through the finish line, or
exactly.
A situation like Eze, a lot of these different players end up going elsewhere, and they end up having to fall to plan B, plan C, plan D. I don't know why that is, but it's been very difficult for players to commit to Spurs in the summer window. Do you know why?
Well, back in January, the CEO, Vinay Venkatesham, actually addressed this problem about the wage structure. And the wage structure at the football club has been a big obstacle of us getting in, top players. So now they are looking to change that. I think they changed that with Conor Gallagher in the January transfer window. So hopefully Spurs will be paying, top wages now. 2 players potentially coming in. But the transfer windows need to be a lot better. Recruitment needs to be a lot better because, we've always gone after certain players. But as you mentioned Eze there, Morgan Gibbs-White. There are so many players that we could have had, but we're not getting them over the line. And that is the big problem.
And look, you've already referenced it. We are getting, again, I've been over my skis once more. If you do survive, you said it, 17th last season.
It's not over.
17th again this season, if you survive. How... You're talking about the transfer window. That's a very clear indication. You've got to try and get a lot of players out of the club as well. I really struggled to see that even with the effect De Zerbi's had, how Tottenham elevate themselves to being a top half of the table team, a challenging for European team, and how you don't end up in that horrible doldrum that teams end up in for 3-4 years at a time, where they just can't get out of being in a relegation battle.
You're absolutely right, Will. But major changes need to be made across, all departments at the football club, and major changes need to be made. Major amounts of money needs to be spent in the right areas, and the recruitment needs to be so much better because this has been a problem for the last couple of years. And we've been through so many different managers. You go from Pochettino now up to Roberto De Zerbi. We can't keep going round in circles. Major changes need to be made. A lot of people have said that they want the Lewis family to sell up. If they feel like they have taken Spurs as far as they can, then a sale definitely needs to happen because, we've got a wonderful stadium, we've got wonderful training facilities. Every single pundit, you guys say it all the time about, Tottenham's facilities and Tottenham Stadium. Everyone says it, but it is about what Pochettino said in 2019. It is about the furniture in the mansion.
Look, Chris, brilliant stuff from you. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Good luck.
As a neutral, I want it to go to the final day of the season. But there's a little bit of me for you that would love you to go and win a Stamford Bridge to stay up.
Do you guys think we're staying up or not?
As an Arsenal fan, I'm actually rooting for Spurs to stay up because North London Derby's been a domination on one side, and also you guys took 4 points off of City, so it'd be something. I feel like I'd missed the North London Derby and the
You've handed Arsenal the title. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
What a kick!
And we handed you guys a great opportunity. So
I'm not here to talk about them.
That's a great answer from you, Chris. Brilliant. I err towards Spurs staying up, but I think you're right. I think they've got the tougher of the games remaining. So we will wait and see. And of course, report for you here on the S Word, the brilliant Chris Cowan. Check out his fantastic stuff. His podcast on his YouTube channel. Brilliant follow there. Well worth your time. And also check us out on all those places that you can see. Right here. I'm trying to get my hand so it's actually in shot.
Go ahead, man.
I've got a little bit of a funny bend, but at talkSPORT S Word on Instagram, on X, and on the YouTube channel as well. I'd love to hear from you there. Get in the chat. We're going to talk Jose Mourinho up next because it is looking increasingly likely, after Ramon Calderon himself told us it was a terrible idea last week, that Jose, the special one, is going to be back in the Bernabeu this season.
Bringing all the biggest football debates stateside. The S Word from talkSPORT. talkSPORT presents The S Word. Listen again and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on the talkSPORT USA YouTube channel.
Now on the talkSPORT S-Word YouTube channel is where you can find us, as well as on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. Get involved there. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and get involved in the comments. We'd love to hear from you on the show today. Covered a lot of Spurs already today. Leeds from last night, that 1-1 draw, meaning the relegation battle, well, it's at least going to go to next weekend and very possibly to the final day of the season. And Master, we've got to talk about the situation going on in Spain. I feel like the amount of Real Madrid we've needed to talk in the first 2 weeks of this show has been absolutely wild.
Every single day there has been a new story about Real Madrid and what is going on, and we've been on top of it. And for better or for worse, it seems like it's going to get a bit more dramatic over the next couple of days.
It felt like it couldn't get more dramatic, right?
Somehow.
It felt like Kylian Mbappe being on a beach in Sardinia. Couldn't get much more dramatic than that, and the rest of the team seeming to react to it. Then we have a punch-up in training. Somebody cracks their head open.
Valverde.
Ends up going to. I knew who it was. I was just doing a whole thing. Fede breaks his head open. Ends up having to go to hospital. Couldn't get more dramatic than that. And yet here comes the special one. talkSPORT understands that it is looking very, very likely that Jose Mourinho will be the next Real Madrid manager. It's been floated for the last couple of weeks. Yeah. I think when it was first mentioned by the president, I think a lot of people balked and suggested it would never happen. Ramon Calderon came on this very show last week and essentially said he thought it would be a terrible idea. But it looks like it's happening.
It is happening. It looks like it is happening. And I do not understand it. I really don't. I know they want someone that can rule with an iron fist, but this one, you're just piling, you're throwing gasoline on an already tire fire that is out of control. I don't think this is going to help, but nevertheless, what do I know?
Is he the man to cool things down, or is he the man to just set that dumpster even more on fire? I'm delighted to say that joining us now is the zone commentator, John Hernandez. John, how are you, sir? Oh, we seem to have not got John. We just check and make sure we've got his audio with John. Are we there? Are we good? Nah, we've not got him. We'll get back to John in a moment on the show. Look, Terry Gibson came on yesterday and spoke about this very situation, the potential of him a shot move back. And literally, as we went off air at 10 a.m. Eastern yesterday, I get the message down in our kind of breaking news group that like 303 that talkSPORT understands that this is very much going to be a going concern. Like, astonishing. And as always, just as we go off air.
Yeah, but just as always, we're proactively ahead of the curve as it's happening. I think we got John ready to go here as well to talk about this some more.
John, we lost you, sir. We've got you back. How are you doing?
Will, Master, yeah? Can you hear me right now?
We can indeed.
Fantastic. How are you doing?
Very well, sir. Very well. And look, I mean, your already interesting enough job covering Los Blancos is going to take, by the sounds of it, another incredible turn. What's been the reaction overnight from the Madridistas towards the idea that Jose could be back in town?
Well, there is, I would say, mixed feelings. As you mentioned, it's happening. Really, it's happening. If you say that like a couple of weeks ago, even 3 weeks ago, nobody believed it. But yeah, definitely it's happening because I think that the rumors are becoming true. Yesterday, the Jose Mourinho said that after the game of Benfica that he will speak next week. Real Madrid is now planning the next season. And from what I know, definitely this is the option from Florentino Perez. And at the end of the day, Florentino Perez is the man who takes decisions at Real Madrid. So obviously, if he wants Jose to be back, he will be back. And I'm pretty sure that this will be happening.
I can't believe we're here. John, I can't believe we're here. Because the way it ended with Mourinho at Real Madrid and the situations and the issues they have now, does it just not feel like there's going to be a power struggle between Mourinho and Mbappe that will unfurl over the next 18 months, give or take?
Yeah, well, everything can happen because obviously everything will depend on how the performances are. If Real Madrid get back to get trophies and everything goes smoothly, yeah, Jose and Mbappe will be friends and everything will be happy. But obviously, if the Real Madrid another season not having any trophies would be too much. And I don't know. I spoke to many people here in Madrid, and people believe that probably in December Jose will be sacked, or probably he will get trophies again for Real Madrid.
December. They think December.
It could happen, yeah, because as you mentioned, there's going to be a battle of power at the Real Madrid dressing room. And still, there are pretty big characters like Mbappe or Vinicius. Don't forget, please, Vinicius Jr., which is also a big ego in that dressing room. So we will see how a guy like Jose Mourinho deal with that kind of egos.
I think the difference is, though, we see it on the field with Vinny. He feels like an egoless player when he's playing. You obviously don't want a completely egoless player. You want guys, particularly playing in forward positions, who are going to be confident enough in their own abilities to do those phenomenal things that both those players can do. I feel like the Mbappe conversation has taken away from what a phenomenal footballer he is when he's at his best. What I just don't see is, I mean, it's a telenovela, right? It's the way this is going to play out over these coming months is it's teed up perfectly, but it almost feels like villain on villain right now as far as Madrid fans are concerned.
Yeah, because, Mbappe, there is no doubt, is one of the best players in the world, if not the best, probably he is. But what is true is that he didn't set up at Real Madrid. It's not only to be a really, really good player, talented player like Mbappe is. To be successful at Real Madrid, you have to be also set up in that dressing room. And for sure that he didn't get that, because he's not getting along too good, if I can say that, with Vinicius, which is another big character in that dressing room. And from the last things that happened, you mentioned before, the holidays that he took at Sardinia, being injured, not going to play in El Clásico a few days ago, and now he's training 100%. Is something that fans at Real Madrid didn't get up really, or didn't get really, really good, you know? And obviously, at the beginning, everyone were for Mbappe, which is he was an idol. But nowadays, his image at Madrid and especially at Bernabeu, he went down, and now people didn't believe or don't believe that Mbappe is going to be that star that should be at Real Madrid. I think, from my personal opinion, that Real Madrid fans are more for Vinicius than Mbappe, and that's a big problem, not only for Mbappe, but also for Real Madrid.
Because he's won 2 Champions League titles. He showed up in big games. Like they were winning without him, and he was a Ballon d'Or contender. Probably should have won the Ballon d'Or, if we're being honest, 2 years ago. So I understand the sentiment. And Mbappe, for as great as he's been, yeah, he won the World Cup in 2018, but he also had Griezmann. He also had Paul Pogba. He had a fantastic team. And since then, the 2022 World Cup final, he played tremendous in, but we haven't seen him lift trophies in the same capacity or become the team player, perhaps, that Real Madrid has needed.
Is there a world where Kylian Mbappe isn't lining up for Real Madrid come August? Is there a world where actually Jose Mourinho comes in and says, the only way we're going to get balance in this team is if we move on? I don't know who could pay his wages. I don't know who could afford him. I don't know if there's any team in the world that could. But do we think there's any even minute possibility? Because I'd have told you a week ago, there's not even a minute possibility that Jose Mourinho is going to be Real Madrid boss, and yet here we are.
Yeah, well, I think it's difficult to see that, and definitely it's difficult to predict that Mbappe will leave Real Madrid this summer. I don't think it will happen, but it could be. Yeah, why not? Because, and I think the key point you mentioned on why Real Madrid fans are more for Vinicius than for Mbappe, because obviously Real Madrid left the trophy of Champions League when Mbappe wasn't here, and when Mbappe came, Real Madrid went down absolutely. No trophies last year, no trophies this year. And is Mbappe's fault? No, at all. But he is a part, and he should be a key part of the team to get trophies. And he didn't get that. So obviously, considering that fans are more for Vinicius than for Mbappe, and Mbappe, we will see how he deals with the next manager, if Mourinho is or whoever the coach is. It can happen, but just a few clubs in the world can pay that amount of wages. But there are not many, but there are. So we will see what's happening.
And we talk about who's to blame and all this. I think at the forefront to blame is Florentino Perez. He's the one that created this mess. He's the one that created the situation. How are fans responding to 2 years without a trophy, and what kind of reaction are the fans going to give the players and also Florentino Perez against Real Oviedo?
Yeah, well, to understand how people react to Florentino Perez's decision, obviously you have to understand that Florentino Perez, it's been probably the most rewarded president in the history of Real Madrid. He got many Champions League, he got many trophies in his era, in a couple of eras, because he was before, and he went back to Real Madrid when after the period of Ramon Calderón. To be honest, to me, it remembers to 2006 era when Galacticos, I'm pretty sure that you remember when the era of Galacticos was over. And at that point, yes, Florentino Perez left the club. Obviously, now it's 20 years more. Florentino Perez is older than before. He's nearly 80 years old. It's an age that we will see, but no one here is forever. So we will see what's happening next season. And I think that this probably is going to be, I don't know if the last season, but the last project of Florentino Perez. And that's why we have to understand why Mourinho could come to Real Madrid, because he's the coach that most impact have in Florentino Perez. And I would say that probably it could be the last big decision of Florentino Perez at Real Madrid.
So, John, how do you find balance in this squad, right? How do you... you've got two players your two best players essentially most dominant when they're playing off the same position off that left-hand side, forcing one of them to play through the middle, how they balance with Bellingham because of that, now that he's back in the team. Is it that they have to splash in the transfer window? Is there the players in the squad there that can find a balance right now? Is somebody going to have to play out of position? How do you make this all mesh together if you're Jose Mourinho?
Well, that's the $1 million question. If I knew, probably I would be at Real Madrid right now.
I'm backing you. Perez's right-hand man, John Hernandez. I'm starting my campaign right now.
That's going to be a big task for the next manager. It's not easy because I think Real Madrid needs plenty of changes. From what I see and from what the people watch this season at Real Madrid, they need many changes at the defense, but also I would say at the midfield. It's not a problem only of the strikers, because the strikers are the most talented strikers in the world. Vinicius and Mbappe, they are for sure, but they need to get balance in the midfield. Bellingham is being quite disappointing the last 2 years, and Real Madrid need a guy who can create football, but also to take the ball to the strikers, and also probably when Kroos and Modric left the club. But obviously Real Madrid, it was a big disaster for them. Real Madrid started that chaos era because they don't have this kind of midfield that can create football for the strikers. So if you ask my opinion, I would say that the key point for next Real Madrid is to find a really good line in the midfield.
I mean, that's what Ramon Calderon said to us last week, right?
I know.
He said the team, he said that Xabi Alonso wanted to invest in the midfield. Obviously, that's where he knows better than anyone else, where they'd lost creativity. And as much as I will...
But they brought in Franco Macedono, they had Arda Güler. Like, they've got quality players. It just hasn't come together.
There's no balance. There's just not. It doesn't feel like. And look, I'm until the past week, I'm a big Germany guy. But does he have a future there? Does Fede Valverde have a future there? Like, there's huge question marks over that entire.
Camavinga.
Yeah,
these are all international players. Like these are all players that have helped this team win trophies in the past. It's mind-boggling.
One by one, they are amazing.
Yeah.
One by one, they are. I would say they are in the top 10 in the world. That's no doubt of that. But they have to be together at the squad. That they didn't get that, and I think that now most of them are burned in that dressing room. The dressing room exploded in the last weeks, and it's difficult to see future on that squad for the future. That's why I predict that there are going to be many changes in the squad, and you need a guy who can do that. And for that question, probably Mourinho is good. We will see how, if finally Mourinho obviously joins Real Madrid, we will see how it works. But you need a guy to be strong in the decision, in strong decisions to be taken. And Mourinho is that guy. But it's just a big challenge for the future for Real Madrid. I don't say it's going to be for good, but definitely they have to do something for that.
John, gracias so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. John Hernandez from DAZN, talking about this just mind-blowing move. Jose Mourinho back to Real Madrid. We'll, of course, continue to react to that as and when we get the official news and over their last 3 games of the season in the next hour. Where is Elliot Anderson going to land? Which side of Manchester, if Manchester at all? Plus, we will be talking a little bit of, we've got so much other action to go still from around the Premier League we've not talked about, and we've got a touch out in the US as well. Loads to get into on the S Word here on talkSPORT.
The daily deep dive into the world of football. The S Word from talkSPORT. S Word, featuring Bill Gavin and Master Tess Fassian. And a squad of big-name contributors. The S Word from talkSPORT.
And we've got one of the best contributors in the game coming up momentarily here on the S Word. Also coming up this hour, Zito's going to join us.
Zito Madu.
For some World Cup USA soccer chat. Getting into that coming up shortly as well. Plus, Angelina Kelly will join us in the studio. Elliot Anderson, interesting comments from Paul Scholes this morning on the talkSPORT Breakfast Show that he thinks he'd be the ideal signing for Manchester United. I think anyone would feel that about Elliot Anderson after this season. But should he go to the blue half or red half of Manchester? We'll debate that coming up on the show. Shout out to those who are tuned in on YouTube. Boss Watanabe says it's quickly becoming one of his favourite new shows. Keep up the good work. Says Bronx, New York in the house. It's always been my favourite borough. It's always been my favourite borough, just because you're there, Boss Watanabe.
The boogie down.
I'm not sure I've ever been up that far.
You
north.
never been to Bronx?
I'm very much a Brooklyn hipster.
We got to get you.
I don't see Manhattan.
I see Yankee games.
I've never been to Yankee Stadium either.
Oh man.
Yeah, astonishing. I it's very much on the list. I mean, maybe when we get flown out to do the World Cup final, as we definitely should be live on this show, we'll get to go and do the whole thing.
People are listening.
Right, I am delighted now to welcome onto the show. Brilliant op-ed piece ahead of the World Cup on the talkSPORT website, talksport.com, this week about the ticket prices, about the ticket sales, about the entire organisation of the World Cup as it is right now, which has been an intriguing setup. Is the brilliant Brian T. Smith from talksport.com. How are you doing, sir?
Good. Will, it's good to see you again. And Master, it's good to see you officially in person. I think our worlds have crossed a few times in the
100%.
past. Houston, Dallas. So the fact that we're both sitting at the talkSPORT studios in London, what a small world it is.
I feel like an honorary Texan at this point.
Well, we should call the segment the Texas Two-Step. How about that?
I would never call something the Texas Two-Step. So let's
What
do
not?
it. It's a cheesy term, man. The Texas Two-Step. I'd never say something like that.
I fit right in with that one.
Beautiful. Look, for people who haven't had a chance to read the piece yet, Brian, it was fascinating that you literally logged onto the portal and went to try and get tickets and just were astonished by what you saw.
Yeah, so I did not know how things were going to work out this summer. I thought at some point I might take just a personal holiday vacation, as you might call it, in another part of the world, and go see the World Cup, because I am from Houston and my wife's family is from Dallas, and you have the World Cup in Dallas, you have the World Cup in Houston, so I thought maybe I could make it a family thing. I struck out like a billion other people on the initial sales, even though I did everything right. And then, I'm obviously covering it in London for talkSPORT. So I decided I was going to give it one more shot to log on, and I've heard everything, I've read the stories, I know the prices, but seeing it myself in person as a real human being, just trying to maybe get a ticket, it's the biggest money grab in U.S. sports history. And so for as much as we're talking about the biggest tournament in history and the biggest, all these great things, seeing it myself in person and what it's like to try to actually buy a single ticket, face value, for the World Cup. I don't know how it got to this point, other than one name that always comes to mind, Gianni Infantino. And, it's easy to make him a punching bag. It's always easy to punch up at our politicians or the world leaders and the government's bad or whatever. But you'd have a hard time winning an argument with me right now that Gianni Infantino has football's best interest at heart. To the point that if you want to go to the World Cup final, there's only two ways right now to buy a ticket. You can buy a ticket that's about $30,000 officially. It's a hospitality ticket. And this is what really got me. And this is what I wrote about talkSPORT.com. Where, guys, you can buy a pavilion ticket for $16,000, which does not get you into the stadium for $16,000, but you can watch the World Cup in a parking lot. That is where, for me...
I've been to the MetLife parking lot, the New York, New Jersey Stadium parking lot. It's a great tailgate. It was a great tailgate ahead of WrestleMania there. I did have a good time with my New York brethren.
It's not.
Look, you're in a giant concrete plateau in the middle of New Jersey.
With some TVs set up. Like, we've all seen those situations. 100%. But for $16,000, what are we even talking about anymore? And I just feel like overall, FIFA and the World Cup, and Gianni, our friend Gianni, has used the fact that this is the first World Cup in America, also in Mexico and Canada, obviously, in 32 years, and he's just gone full American on this. It is full greed. It is full market capitalism. And I get it. That's how the world works. I'm not naive. We cover pro sports. It didn't have to be this way, though. There was probably a happy medium.
The 1994 World Cup, still to this day, is the most profitable World Cup of all time. So it was natural that this one would surpass that with the expansion of the tournament, more games.
100%.
All of that was going to happen. The simple fact is that there still hasn't been a solution to dynamic pricing in the United States. We saw the issues with the Taylor Swift concerts, Beyonce concerts. Even when Lionel Messi first came to Inter Miami, I was buying tickets, and the same problem happened. They were jacking up the prices. And say I wasn't able to make the U.S. Open Cup final, and I had 4 tickets. Me trying to sell them on the open marketplace, there was a floor in which I was able to sell them because they still had tickets that were unsold, and they did not want the resale value of the tickets to go far below to a point that does not make it accessible and unavailable for the stadium or the venue to sell the rest of the tickets. And it feels like they're running back the same exact playbook that we've seen time and time again in the United States.
Yeah, and look, I'm not trying to act like every kid in the world should be go to the World Cup. I mean, the world is the world, right? It's an expensive world, especially for sports. And, some of what Gianni has said is correct. I mean, they're operating within the American framework. They're operating in a world where Super Bowl tickets go for a lot of money. But there was a way to do this and carve out a section of tickets that would have been affordable. And then when you're doing the reselling to set a limit or whatever you're going to do, there are ways to do this, not to have just all out full market American capitalistic greed. And I love America, and I may end up back in America in a couple years. And America has a lot of incredible things, but there's no way. This is just about making as much profit as possible,
100%.
Not in promoting the game, not in making the World Cup, not in spreading the World Cup as much as they should be spreading it. They do a lot of great things for the community, but ultimately this is about money. And I hate that this World Cup that's going to be so amazing and so historic and so brilliant and so thrilling, it's left a lot of fans really alienated before it's even started.
Is it going to be amazing though? 30 days away. Has that sentiment? Do you feel?
I don't feel that buzz in the United States at all when I talk to friends. And I was just interviewing Chris Canetti, who is the president of the Houston World Cup host committee. He was part of the bid committee. Mm-hmm. And Chris was talking about, and we'll have the story up soon at talkSPORT. He was talking about, yes, the activations are starting, the fan zones are starting. They just brought the World Cup, the trophy around. I've said this to you before, Will. I don't think the World Cup is really going to hit in the U.S. until the USMNT plays that first match and they win it. If they don't win that match, that buzz, you won't have that ripple effect. The USA, you know it, Will, with all your stuff covering the NFL and doing it so well for talkSPORT. It takes a winner. It takes a run. It takes a bandwagon for that buzz to begin. And I don't feel like the World Cup right now in the United States of America is nearly as big as it should be, or as big as it would be if it was in another European country right now or another international country.
You also do have the fact that the NBA finals are going on and they will run to past the opening of the World Cup, most likely into that second week of June. You do have the fact that, we've just had the NFL draft, the baseball season has started. Like, as much as we are sitting here talking to hopefully some of the 60 million soccer fans that are active in the US right now, you've seen it. It is undoubtedly America's biggest growing sport, but it still isn't.
But it's still a growing sport. And that's where I have the problem. You are growing the sport in America. What would be the best way to grow the sport in America? Because the matches are probably going to sell out no matter what. Have the tickets a little more affordable. Have the international fans not come and already feel like they've had to literally mortgage their entire future just to see Brazil play one group stage match. There was a way to do this and find that happy medium, and I know that Gianni and FIFA have done the exact opposite. They've just completely sold themselves out to make as much money as possible, which some people, some Europeans or people in the United Kingdom will say, well, that's what Americans do. No, I mean,
to a certain extent, they're kind of right. It is kind of what we do.
Not to sit here and be like the flag-waving, card-carrying socialist, but like the issue is
the card-carrying socialist.
It is meant to be the working man sport. It is meant to be the jumpers for goalposts. You can play it in anywhere, whether it's the favelas, whether it's, your boggy marsh in Newcastle, whatever it is, it's meant to be a sport that is for everyone. And okay, on TV, it's going to be great. And I'm sure you're going to get big fan groups turning up and you're going to see whole cities turn orange when the Dutch
I feel like the international fans
is going to be great.
The international fans will show up and you'll have that. But what is the actual environment going to be like in Atlanta, in Kansas City, in LA, if the U.S. isn't playing?
Those are 3 great soccer cities, though. Atlanta has built an incredible infrastructure. The U.S. soccer team has moved there for a reason. Kansas City has been a very underrated soccer city. They always show up with the watch parties that they do. The downtown Kansas City, the atmosphere that they have there is tremendous. And Los Angeles, to me, is the best city for soccer. So
But with all of that, I mean, particularly Los Angeles, that's an international community, right?
100%.
Atlanta being in the South, it's a diverse community. Like
the weather allows you to play year round. So I do think Americans are going to show up due to the simple fact, as much as we love a winner, we also love a spectacle. And this will become a spectacle. It's just right now, it's hard for people to grasp how big this spectacle will be because for most people, they had never experienced this before. So
until Diana Ross is splitting a crossbar and taking a penalty, then no one's going to care. That's what I'm hearing.
But I made the decision ultimately, not that I have thousands of dollars to throw around, but I made the decision personally, and I feel like this probably happened across the board. A lot of people, I was much better off saving the $5,000, $10,000 that I would spend on a couple other holidays or several other holidays, and watching the World Cup in my opinion, the greatest country to watch it in, England, and actually, be around fans, be able to watch England, be able to watch the USA, and save the $10,000. It would have cost me $15,000 right now to go see USMNT play one single match with just my wife and I, and flight and hotels and food. That's it. I'm not spending that money to go watch one match. I'm going to watch it on TV basically for free and stay in England and be able to also see England.
The sales haven't been good either. That's the other problem of it, is that we're hearing stories today. And again, FIFA have been very cards close to the chest, and every organisation has reached out to them to try and get these actual numbers and what they are. And you look at that opening USMNT game, or the game in Seattle, like they are. Those prices are the only ones that haven't really dropped on the dynamic prices because they've forced them staying up for years. But it feels like every time a few hundred tickets are sold, suddenly there's a few hundred tickets more.
They keep saying FIFA keeps saying last sale, final sale.
Last sale.
I feel like
to make it a British reference,
we're dealing with
like a
one of
DFS
those
sale up in
cheaper
here.
airlines where they're trying to fill that flight because that's the only flight of the day. Are you the World Cup? Or are you trying to sell bargain basement tickets? That's what it feels like at times.
But here's my advice to American fans or anyone that's traveling to the United States, Mexico, Canada, trying to get tickets. Wait till the last minute. That's how dynamic pricing works. They feed off of the hopium and the FOMO aspect of things and people rushing for the 300 tickets that they release with 10,000 people trying to grab it. But ultimately, the demand eventually and the supply will even out. If not, it will crater because people will get frustrated.
But it's hard. I totally agree with you. If I was going to buy an Oasis ticket, that's what I wouldn't buy an Oasis ticket, but that's what I would do.
Maybe
I'm not giving my money to Oasis. But here's the problem though, and I completely agree with you, except for the fact that you're flying from Brazil, you're flying from Spain, you're flying from all over the world. It's hard to do a last minute trip, especially with a lot of the immigration and visa issues going on in the United States. It's hard to do a last minute World Cup trip.
It is, but in the Club World Cup, as we saw, Palmeiras Chelsea, those tickets dropped to $13, like a couple days before the match. So I think patience is a virtue.
If it drops to $13, I'm going to go to the World Cup.
I guarantee you.
I think we might all go. I think we'll just take the studio with us.
I can guarantee you will be able to find tickets for under $100 for some of these matches without question. Would that be a quarterfinal match between Messi and Ronaldo? I don't know. Would that be Brazil or Mexico? Probably not. But the simple fact,
I think you're right.
The Club World Cup
was Saudi Arabia. Then
what's wrong with that?
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that's where you'll find the cheap tickets. Oh my God.
I think you'll be surprised. Some of the places in which some of these teams and these nations, I think you'll be able to find tickets at a much more affordable rate than 5 figures, in my personal opinion.
Look, part of this whole conversation is just how much of the World Cup in the US is making an impact right now. And unsurprisingly, this isn't the biggest sports story in the US right now, because LeBron James might have played his last ever game of basketball last night. And so I just want to...
LeBron James.
We might be a soccer show, but you've written a great
piece. That story's at talkSPORT.com right now too, Will,
and, I think we were talking about this beforehand. If he decides to come back next year, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But you're saying, no, hang him up, buddy.
I refuse to do the Michael Jordan, LeBron James debate my first time on this show. We don't need to go there. Statistically, he is still a very good player. He's not a great player anymore. LeBron James this year had his lowest scoring average points per game than he had since his rookie season. I watched the end of OKC Lakers last night. He was the third offensive option on the floor. They only beat the Rockets because of LeBron. LeBron carried him in the first round. If I am LeBron, and I'm not LeBron, but if I'm LeBron, do I want to go out this way? Do I want to go out where you're going out in the first round and the second round every year? And if you come back to the Lakers next year, you are the third option. It'll be Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and then LeBron James. That is not how the co-GOAT should end his career. He's got $1.4 billion in net worth. He is a multimedia mogul. He's a part owner of Liverpool. He can do whatever he wants.
He was probably a top 25, top 20 player this season.
That's not a GOAT.
He averaged 21, 6, and 7 at 41 years old. 41 years old.
Do you want to?
MJ did not do that at 41 years old. What other player has
did
been able
MJ
to
go
at 51%?
Did MJ go 6-0 in the NBA Finals?
Okay, sure, but MJ was not doing longevity-wise what LeBron James.
Nobody's arguing about the longevity.
If he wants to play one more season, I don't see a problem with that. 51% shooting. In the playoffs, he was averaging 23, 6, and 8.
I don't associate LeBron James with being good. I want to associate LeBron James with the only reason we're talking about Michael Jordan and LeBron James is because of greatness. And yeah, MJ had the Wizards, and I'm not going to forget that. But LeBron James
sounds like you are.
No, I don't forget 6-0 in the NBA Finals.
Okay, but I mean, again, we're talking about what he did with the Lakers, what he's doing right now at 41 years old. No one's ever done this.
No one's ever done it.
NBA history. No one has done what he's doing.
How long do you want to go and just being good? How does LeBron want to be the third? He said last night, I've never been in this situation before. I'm the third offensive option. My biggest problem, Master, he gets knocked out of the playoffs every year. He is not a title contender. He's better off having one final glory run and going back to the Cleveland Cavaliers and having a send-off that way.
Yeah, but LeBron James the Cavs are playing well this year, and maybe
they don't need him.
Maybe LeBron goes to the Cavs and becomes the third guy, the fourth guy, and they go.
An old LeBron James and an old James Harden do not go together.
It would be a great way to end the career, even if you are third.
People didn't think him and Luka and Austin Reeves would work out. And LeBron's so versatile. If he wants to play another season, fine. I stayed up to watch this game as well because I wasn't sure if this is going to be his last time or not. And a lot of people I know were at this game put the potential possibility that this could be his last game. And if this is the way he goes out, by all means. If he wants to play another season, I would love for him to get the farewell tour. I would love for him to get the flowers that he absolutely deserves for carrying for the league for the last 2-3+ decades here and being able to do it in such an honorable way, being able to do it from a longevity perspective. We're talking about someone, the all-time lead scorer in points, assists. He's broken every single record possible. You can talk about the titles all you want to, and that's fine. That's something MJ is always going to have over him. But LeBron James is literally better than Michael Jordan in every single statistical category that you can think of.
Only because he played longer.
How is it long? What did we talk about earlier?
The way the
you cannot hold his durability against him. Like that is something that
Michael Jordan at his peak. Far better than LeBron James at his peak.
Are we talking career-wise? Are we talking?
It's two different conversations. But if we're talking the GOAT, if we're talking the greatest of all time, I'm taking the most dominant player. That's
I am
Michael
taking
Jordan.
someone. You take his complete body work from chapter 1 to the end of the chapter. Who reads a book just to read it for 2 chapters?
What I will say,
this whole story.
I am a fan of the ride off into the sunset at a high moment. I believe in sport. If you can win a Super Bowl, if you can win a championship ring, if you can do that and then go, that's me, I'm done. I think those are the great.
But he's not doing that right now.
But he is because he cannot give up the spotlight. He wants to sit there at the end of the season. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll tell you guys in a few months. He had the same conversation in 2024 and 2025 and now in 2026.
He's 41 years old. This is a very legitimate. Tom Brady did the same thing. Every single.
But then he can't say he's just the same as Michael Jordan or he's just as great as Michael Jordan because he's not. And that is
he's better.
Oh my God.
He's better than Michael Jordan.
Right, but who actually enjoyed? You mentioned the Brady conversation. Who actually enjoyed, other than maybe fans of other AFC East teams, watching him go to the playoffs with that beleaguered Bucks team, having won a Super Bowl with them 2 years earlier, and just
that was an incredible story. That's one of my favorite stories of all time.
I enjoyed it as a Cowboys fan.
He, by the way, still played incredibly that season.
He was incredible,
and that's what I'm saying. LeBron is still playing. He's averaging 23 points. 23-6 at 41 years old against a team that we're talking about could be a dynasty.
This is the problem though. The team that gets knocked out of the playoffs every year.
That's not his fault. That's Rob Pelinka's fault. That's the Lakers' fault. There's bigger issues to fry. That is not LeBron James' fault. He's doing his job and exceeding his job more than anyone we've ever seen at 41 years old.
A better constructed team would be paying less contract value and less overall value to that player, and you would have an okay. This is the problem though with the Lakers. They went so heavy on LeBron, and now the time is to turn it over to Luka. And LeBron
who wasn't available, who was injured.
They were Luka the MVP
Street
candidate.
Close 2.0.
Are you not a Luka fan?
I mean, I'm a Mavs fan.
He's a Mavs fan, so I think there's a little bit of bitterness.
Did you just call Luka Street Close 2.0?
He had the same amount of points as Anthony Davis in the playoffs.
I'm not going to need to drink any coffee today because the bitter taste in my mouth coming from my left-hand side.
It's sweet.
Gentlemen, this is what I love.
Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
We'll do this a lot more, don't you worry. Brian T. Smith joining myself, Will Gavin, Masters, Fatsian in the studio. Coming up, Zito Madu is going to join us as we continue our look forward to the World Cup from a USA perspective, plus Elliot Anderson after Paul Scholes' comments this morning on talkSPORT. Where should he be playing his football next season? It's unlikely to be Forest. East, red half, blue half of Manchester. We'll talk about it coming up on the S Word.
Around here, we only use the F word. talkSPORT presents the S Word. Cuss words here. Just 2 hours of full-on football dialogue. Every day, talkSPORT presents the S Word.
You're back on the S Word. Will Gavin, Master Tez Fatsi and Brian T. Smith. Brilliant stuff from him. Check out his stuff at talksport.com. If you're just joining the show, you can find us at the talkSPORT S Word YouTube channel. Go and check out our content there, plus the live stream every day from there and from talkSPORT as well. We're Monday to Friday right up until the World Cup, and during the World Cup we're going to be going 7 days a week. Master, you ready?
I'm hyped. I'm ready to go.
We might not do 7 days a week. We might have to bring in some you can do 7 days a week. I'd stick to 5 and, just enjoy my family life and watching some football. But we'll get you a little bed in the studio of the...
I'm trying to watch Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia here at 2 a.m., baby. Mashallah. Mashallah.
Look, just a little bit of breaking news before we get to our next guest. Reports coming out that Ben White has been ruled out not only for the coming games for Arsenal, but of the Champions League final and also the World Cup. It's a suspected MCL injury done against West Ham and leaves Mikel Arteta, Master, with a huge selection dilemma for PSG because, a week ago we were hearing Jurrien Timber back in training. We thought he'd be back and available by that point. He played against PSG last season. If Jurrien Timber's not back, what on earth do they do?
I have no idea. This is devastating news for Arsenal. Josh Harrison of The Sun is reporting this. It's a bigger concern when you look at the Champions League final because the right back situation, you look on the other side, Kravitska-Kvaratskhelia left wing, and you had a Jurrien Timber that wasn't healthy in that first leg that Kravitska-Kvaratskhelia was able to score that early goal on, and they were able to shut the door in the first leg. So this is a massive, massive problem for Arsenal they'll have to solve. If Jurrien Timber isn't available, which Arteta questioned whether he'd be available at the end of the season, despite him returning to training, if he'll be fully fit to play in the Champions League final. Now you lose Ben White. So you'll be left to play Mosquera, who came in the second half to play right back. It's not an ideal situation. Mosquera is up for it, but there are some limitations that he has playing, out of the back with his feet at right back will be an issue. But this is a big concern for Arsenal. This is a tough break for Ben White. He was playing well. Always feels like there's an injury that always happens when he starts to be in form, unfortunately. And this one is just it's a gut punch. So I'm hoping for the best. I am, and I'm hoping Timber can be fully fit to play this. But in my mind, I'm almost expecting that Arsenal will go into that Champions League final without Ben White and probably without Jurrien Timber, and that's a tough thought to have.
I don't think from an England perspective I'm concerned hugely. If Ben White had been available for England for the last few years and played regularly in the squad and had become a member of that first 11, maybe be something I'd be worried about. But I think there are plenty of options there from an England perspective. But yeah, tough break for Arsenal. Well, actually, our next guest is an Arsenal fan. I'm going to leave it to you. He's your buddy.
He is.
Give this man the build-up he deserves.
One of my favorite commentary voices in American soccer and really international, because he is Mr. International, the guy who lives his life like Action Bronson, luxurious rap lyric. Pleased to be joined on the S Word with my boy, Zito Madu, who joins us. Zito, what's going on?
Yo, how are you?
See, he's got the leather jacket on. I'm not surprised. It's probably a leather jacket on a Tuesday morning in New York City. That's very Zito.
Immediately raising the cool level of this trio, just absolutely exponentially in a heartbeat.
Zito, I actually do want to ask you, the Ben White news coming out right now. I know you also are a big supporter of Arsenal for a long time. Ben White being out for the Champions League final, how does that impact Arsenal's chances against PSG?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. Like that wing is so dangerous. And first of all, beyond anything, I just feel so bad for him, right? Like this is a guy who's came in to deputize that position and he's done really well. And missing out on the Champions League final and the World Cup is very devastating. I know he doesn't like football and he doesn't really watch football, but I feel like this is the highlight of anybody's career and he's missing out on that through no fault of his own. But yeah, I think it makes things so much more dangerous for Arsenal, right? Like I think you might have a case of the center back helping out a lot more with the wing defense this time than usual because Ben White's not the greatest one-on-one defender, but he's assured and he's also really good at going forward. So if you're losing that, Mosquera is not really that same quality of like going forward and crossing the ball or like playing with the winger. So I think it makes things a lot harder, but I don't know if Arsenal were going this in the easy way in the first place.
Yeah, never the favourites going into that game. No offence to either of the Arsenal fans on with me. And yeah, this is only, you've got maybe the best player in the world right now, certainly over the last few weeks in the Champions League, going up against what could be a third choice right back is incredibly rough. Look, Cesar, we've been talking a little bit about the ticket situation at the World Cup, big piece up on talkSPORT in the last 2 days. How are the feelings there in the US towards this tournament 30 days out?
It's so funny because one of my friends just did a public poll asking people 30 days out, are you excited? How are you feeling? And still the large majority of people are just like, it's coming and I'm going to go, but I'm not really excited about it, right? So I was also looking up tickets not too long ago just because I wanted to see if I could go to like one of the opening games, and it's still around the 400. Even like the cheaper ones are still around $400, $600, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I think like at a time right now where everything's expensive for Americans, and most Americans don't really have that much say, I think this is just going to become a situation where they go to a few games or 1 or 2 games because it costs so much. It's almost like you're going to a Beyonce concert. And so you can only afford a Beyonce concert every once in a while, right? And so I think, you're having a situation where they're really banking on Americans willing to fork over as much money as possible. And I think that works for one-off events, right? Like you plan your whole summer to go to like the Cowboy Carter tour. But when you're doing a month-long or a month and a half long tournament, you're actually banking on people having like $20,000 to spend in the summer. And I don't think most people have that. Most Americans have that. And most Americans don't have that, particularly now. And I think it would be such a shame if this World Cup became just the World Cup of like wealthy people, because that defeats the entire purpose of what this adventure is.
Well, what do you think this adventure should be? And where do you fear that it could potentially turn into?
Well, I think it was always something that was like the way that I've described it is like it's a cultural exchange, right? All these like the World Cup comes to a country and you get to witness these diverse groups of communities, right? Like I've gone to Ghanaian celebrations, I've gone to like Haitian celebrations, I've gone to like Senegalese celebrations. I wish I could go to a Nigeria one, but yeah, that's not how fates line everything up. So, you know, you have, especially in places like New York, you have all these different communities here, and they would like to see their team. They would like to sort of like share their culture with everyone else. It's like, it would be fun for like to see a bunch of Irish people going to eating like Senegalese jollof or Ghanaian jollof, right? Like making this cultural exchange. And also for a lot of these people, this is one of the few times that they get to see their country play in the World Cup. So when you come to a place like this and you're just like, we're going to ostracize anyone who can afford these high ticket prices, you're not making the World Cup the global game. You're making the World Cup basically a luxury experience. And I think luxury experiences are fine, but it should not be for the game whose entire ethos is about how universalist it is, right? Like we kind of like talk about football is like, oh, everyone can play it. It's easy to play. It belongs to the world. But when you have to pay $800 for a tier 3 ticket, that's not the world at all. That's actually just a very small 1% of it. So I think it's doing such a disservice to the game. And I think it's doing the disservice to these communities that have been waiting forever to watch their teams.
I think it's a really interesting comparison when you talk about like going to the Cowboy Cart or going to see, and Taylor Swift was mentioned earlier as well, like these things that you spend a huge sum of money on. You go once every 2 or 3 years. It's something that you kind of write off, right, essentially. I think my concern is that, you know, we're talking about huge recording artists there who already do billions of streams on Spotify and just absolutely huge deals and everything else. And whilst it's great, I mean, I'm with you, the cultural exchange element for the World Cup is incredibly important. It's what I've always loved about these major international tournaments. But also the US is potentially missing out on a massive opportunity here to create a new generation of domestic soccer fans, because you're basically saying there's this huge event going on, but you can't really afford it or get into it. So unless you're going to watch it on TV, then just, you know, it feels like a short-term gain to miss out on what could be a huge long-term impact.
Yeah, I feel like it's so interesting because like when you talk to people my age who grew up in the US and who are huge soccer fans, who've been huge soccer fans for a long time, and you talk to them and they're like, yeah, like I remember the 94 World Cup. I remember my dad or my mom taking me there. And that sort of memory, that core memory is like imprinted on them. But you're absolutely right? Like there's going to be a lot of people here who don't experience the World Cup as a physical thing. And I think this is also a way or the direction that a lot of sports are moving, which is not, you know, again, it's not conducive to building these like long-term fans. It's not conducive to building a fandom that is like tied to a physicality, right? So you have, you know, I don't know how much you guys know about NFL. I know Master knows a lot about NFL. It's like NFL games are so expensive. To go to the Browns games is like $400 or $500, and they suck, right? So you're having you're divorcing sports from the actual physical experience of going to sports, right? There's going to be a lot of people who don't actually have that tie that I saw Messi in person, or I saw, you know, Mbappe in person, right? Like I think we all know the difference between when you watch it in person versus when you watch it on TV, right? It's great to watch stuff on TV, but when you watch it in person, there's an emotional tie that's just there. And there's a physical tie that's there. But you're absolutely right. Like they're very much doing you know, FIFA's kind of pointed this out, but they're very much doing the most American thing possible, which is make as much profit now and just deal with the problem later.
I do want to point out, Will Gavin is the voice of the NFL UK.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great.
He, you know, just garnered 21
So you know
million
how much the Browns suck.
Yes, he does. Unfortunately, he does. But I do want to know.
Rumor has it they're not coming to Europe anymore because they suck that badly. After spending 6-7 months talking about them being the team who are going to face the Saints in Paris, we're going to find out tomorrow. I've heard it's not them anymore. So that's how bad the Cleveland Browns are. Not even the French want them anymore.
But Wazita, I want to go back to one thing you mentioned, the accessibility of this. But doesn't it almost feel like the narrative of the American soccer fan, the absence of accessibility that they've had to garner and endure, whether it's watching the matches, finding the matches themselves, and still finding a way to withstand that? It's almost been like a badge of honor for a lot of the diehard, long-time American soccer fans. And I'm not saying that to be a good thing or whatever the case may be, but it's almost written in the narrative of the journey of growing American soccer that in the most ideal circumstances, somehow, some way, it does not work out to watch soccer in this country.
Yeah. It was so funny because I made a joke online a while ago that got me in a little bit of trouble with Americans, where I said you can't convince Americans that being exploited is not a good thing. And it's just like,
it's
well,
a great
we
line.
kind of grow, yeah, but we grow up in like a kind of a flexing culture, right? It's like being able to spend a lot, like it's so individualistic in the sense of like it's hard to say being charged for so much to go to a soccer game is not good, because the American reaction is like, well, I can pay it, stop being so broke, and being able to afford it. But to the deeper thing that you're talking about, the affordability, I do think there's a lot of people who've waited their whole lives for this.
Mm-hmm.
And so who are willing to spend that money, right? Like somehow, some way you're going to get there because you know there's probably never going to be another opportunity in your lifetime. But as far as accessibility, yes, like I think that is the story of U.S. soccer. That's the story of American soccer for a very long time. Like one of the first articles that I wrote when I started becoming a full-time writer was about pay to play in the American youth system, right? So I grew up in Detroit, like in the heart of Detroit, and I was a soccer player, but I had to go all the way out of Dearborn to play soccer, right? Like, and if I wanted to play if I want to play outside of Dearborn, I'm going to like Wixom, which is so out far in the suburbs. You're driving like 50 minutes to go play indoor soccer with a bunch of kids from the suburbs, right? And like we both know, like this was a suburban sport for not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
The only people that can afford to play it, and now it still is. It's one of the most like highest costing sports to play in the U.S. But this has also happened to all American sports, where like basketball is becoming like a pay-to-play system, like NFL or tackle football is becoming a pay-to-play system. But yeah, it's like, I think the U.S. is sort of caught in this bind where it knows to be a soccer country, to really sort of like take that mantle, it has to be accessible. And there's like grassroots organizations doing that, right? Like building pitches, allowing kids to play for free, all these things, right? Like I think Atlanta United was so good with that in the pitches that they built next to the BART stops. And then at the same time, you're also like, in order to actually play this game, you need to like be rich. So there's a sort of conflict. There's not like an alignment on what you want the sport to be. There's like, oh, a lot of people love this sport. We can make it a luxury experience and get them to pay as much as possible. And then there's the other side that's like, people should just be able to play the sport and actually have access to go to the games and do all these things. So it's a conflict, but I think this World Cup is when that's decided, right? What kind of soccer country is this going to be?
It's astonishing that 4 years off the back of a World Cup in the Middle East that was essentially paid for with oil money, that was paid for with, off the backs of workers who weren't earning anything at all, if anything of any note. Like that, we all expect America to be a capitalist society. That's what we are brought up to believe almost in. But it's amazing that it's actually becoming more of a story around a US World Cup than it was against a World Cup based in Qatar or will be in Saudi Arabia. That it's about the money. It's not what the World Cup's about. It's devastating.
It's so wild. Like you're absolutely right. Whereas like 2022, we were just like, this is probably the worst World Cup ever. Like there's so many controversies. And then it's like, this one comes and it's like, oh, we thought that last one.
The USA said, hold my beer. They said, hold my PBR. I'm coming for you. One of the marks of success, regardless of all the talk of the long-term success, the sustained, the growth, everything else, will be the success of the USMNT. So before we let you go, Zita, just tell us how you are feeling about that endeavor. What is success?
Especially after Johnny Cardoso's injury. I'm curious your sentiment on the team.
It's so funny because I'm like working with a couple of brands doing advertising work and for the U.S. men's national team. And so much of it is based around how much advertising can you do while they're still in the tournament, right? And everyone's like planning for them to go deep into the knockout rounds. But then once you get past those meetings with the agencies, then you have the executives like, all right, let's make sure that we at least have a lot for the group stages. So I think everyone is cautious, right? And I think I might be on that same line of like being cautious because, we remember what happened at the last World Cup. And, you have those injuries that are coming in, but you also just have a team that doesn't really have a strong identity, that hasn't really proven that it could beat or it could compete with the best teams, right? And beyond that, I think the U.S. men's national team is so funny because you can actually imagine them losing to those like weaker teams in that group. And it's not like a far-fetched thing that is like, oh, everything has to go wrong for this to happen. But they're so inconsistent where they can go in one of those games and just play badly and then end up not even second in the group or third, but like end up at the bottom. And that's not saying that that's what I want to happen, but I think the possibility of that is actually what's making people more cautious because you just don't have a nice gauge of how good this team is, right? You don't have a nice gauge of like what their height is or what their bottom is, right? Anything can happen with them. And that's really, as a person, as a human being, when you say anything can happen, that's joyful. But as a soccer team, if anything can happen, that's actually a horrible sort of state to be in.
Hey, look, soccer really is the world's game. Football really is the world's game if fans are pessimistic, because that is how it is to be certainly an English football fan. I have too much optimism from the Arsenal fan to my left. I'm sure too much optimism from the Arsenal fan across the pond from me. So, yeah.
We're doing the double, baby.
Welcome to pessimism. That is what football is truly about to me. Zito, it was brilliant having you on. Thank you so much for joining us. We'd love to chat to you more as we build up to this World Cup and as we go into it. Fantastic stuff.
Appreciate it, bro.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Brilliant stuff. Zito Madu joining us on the show.
I'm glad you got to meet him, and I'm glad he got to know that you're the NFL play-by-play voice.
The voice, apparently. That international slate announced tomorrow. I've got a day of work cut out for me. Coming up in the studio, Angelina Kelly is going to be joining us on the S Word, talkSPORT reporter, as we discuss Paul Scholes' interview, brilliant interview with talkSPORT Breakfast earlier today. You can check that out on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. And while you're there, go to talkSPORT S Word, like, subscribe, leave a comment under the video, do all that good stuff. But we're going to talk about his comments on Elliot Anderson this morning and ask which side of Manchester should the mercurial midfielder land.
From kickoff to the full-time whistle, talkSPORT presents the S Word. I mean the proper kind, where you only use your feet. The S Word from talkSPORT.
Yeah, you are watching the S Word on the talkSPORT S Word YouTube channel, via talkSPORT YouTube channel. If you're watching on talkSPORT, and we can see there are more of you watching there than there are on this Word, pop over to the S Word, join us there, get in the chat, subscribe, like it, give it all that good stuff. You'll be able to watch back the interviews from today if you've not already been involved, and you can get in touch with the show at talkSPORT S Word on Instagram, on X, and on YouTube.
Doing the Esoc celebration. Follow all this right here.
Yeah, there we go. Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Just gesticulating in Master's direction. But I want to turn our attention as we finish off the show today to the situation in the Northwest, and specifically in Manchester, because Paul Scholes, United legend, 11-time Premier League winner and tens of other trophies as well, joined the breakfast show. It's a brilliant interview. When you're finished with this show and you've subscribed and you've gone and liked all of our videos, do go and watch it in full, because he's great on Alex Ferguson after his health scare and the conversations they've had. He's brilliant on Marcus Rashford. Says that essentially he's delighted to see him getting on well at Barcelona, but thinks that he had a little bit of a Kylian Mbappe issue while he was at Manchester United, that maybe he believes himself a little bit more than in the team. But he also talks about Elliot Anderson. Elliot Anderson in the Manchester United midfield would be an absolute dream. So let's see what the former number 8 of Manchester United had to say about the Nottingham Forest midfielder.
But yeah, look, what I've seen of him it's been nothing short of brilliant, really. What he's done for Forest has been really good in the Europa League. Now look, he's still got to go to that next level, and he's done it with England. Has he done it? Well, England games very hard to gauge, really, because I don't think they're playing the best competition until they get to the World Cup. When them bigger games come, then we'll get a better idea, and he will still have to test himself in the Champions League. But he looks to me like he'd be able to handle it absolutely no problem. But as I say, I think 1 or 2 will be needed, not just the one. But Anderson and mine, I think I'd be happy with that to start next season.
There you have it. Paul Scholes, Manchester United legend, backing Elliot Anderson at United. We know that City have been tracking him all year long. Apparently, he already had conversations with his agent, getting a little bit ahead of the curve on that one. I'm delighted to say that talkSPORT reporter and Manchester United fan, I'm sure she won't mind me saying, Angelina Kelly, joins us in the studio. Angelina.
Yes.
Is Elliot Anderson going to end up at Manchester United? Do you buy it? Do you believe?
He better end up at Manchester United.
What, because you've got no one else to play in midfield if he doesn't?
Yeah, basically, he's our only hope. Obviously, Man United have been linked to a lot of different players, but Elliot Anderson is the one where Manchester United need to get the old school Sir Alex Ferguson mentality of, let's just get him at whatever cost. I don't care if Man City are interested. I don't care who's interested. Manchester United need to make this happen, because as much as he's reportedly been talking to Manchester City, City will only go to a certain price point, I think. We've seen them walk away from Declan Rice. We've seen them walk away from Harry Maguire in the past. So United just need to get in there and outbid. Jason Wilcox needs to pull his finger out and get this one done. I get the appeal of Manchester City, but being part of this Manchester United team, back in the Champions League, back to, third. Had they have had Michael Carrick from the beginning, our talkSPORT friend Alex Crook, he reckons United could have won the league. So, wow. Manchester United are in a great position at the moment. He would be brilliant. I think the physicality that he offers, his intensity, he can play as a 6 or an 8. He can do a bit of the dirty work for somebody like Manu or Bruno Fernandes. Of course, he'd be the perfect fit. And I just think that Man United needs it. If Sir Alex Ferguson was in charge, he'd be saying, we are getting this guy. I don't care what we've got to do. Get the deal done, and that's what they've got to do.
Yeah, Casemiro's impending exit.
Yeah.
Manuel Ugarte probably leaving.
Thank goodness. Yeah. Good riddance. Yeah, see you later.
I'm not suggesting you need depth, but maybe not that depth.
No, he's all right.
It does feel like Kobbie Mainoo is going to be the only senior player and still a very young, developing player in that midfield. Could he have a Declan Rice-esque effect on that Man United team?
I think he can. I think what we've seen from him at Nottingham Forest and what he's done for the England national team, he is a tremendous asset in terms of defensively what he's able to do, but also we're seeing him scoring goals now all of a sudden. And that was an aspect and an element that's an extra bonus as he scored over the weekend that you don't really account for Elliot Anderson. But when he's able to provide that, it's almost similar to Casemiro. You take it where you can, and he would be the ideal fit, I would think, to replace Casemiro and probably had better legs as well, so he could cover better ground than Casemiro can. My only question, though, is can Man United still have the pool that you're talking about, like they did with Sir Alex Ferguson? Is Man United still an attractive place over Manchester City when it comes down to the circumstances? Can they get it over the line?
Basically, is 5 months of half-decent success and getting back into the Champions League enough when you're going against a team who have won 25 trophies in the space of 15 years?
Listen, Manchester United will always be Manchester United. There is a reason why when I go to the States in particular, right? People come up, where are you from? Manchester. No one's asking me about Pep. No one's asking me about Haaland. Manchester United, Wayne Rooney, Sir Alex Ferguson, Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, maybe not Bruno Fernandes, but definitely some of those old players.
You told on yourself a bit there.
They are now.
But people want to talk about Man United. They have still got a massive pull. And the recruitment work, as much as Manchester United's ownership, people are going to complain about them, and rightly so. They have been able to bring in some big names. I never thought that they'd get Cunha and Mbeumo. I never thought that would happen. You look at someone like Šeško. Obviously, Arsenal went for Victor Gyökeres, but he was still a target for a team like Arsenal. So Man United are able to be in the mix like that. I think also with Manchester City, as much as, whilst we're talking, we don't know what's going to happen with Man United and who will be in charge. All arrows are pointing towards Michael Carrick. With Manchester City, we don't know what's going to happen with Pep Guardiola. There are no guarantees under Pep Guardiola. As much as if he likes you, like Foden, he'll put his arm around you, he'll call you his son. Don't mean that Foden's playing every day.
So this is where I fell on this, because
Pep might not I put
this forward.
Enzo Maresca.
When I was listening earlier today, I put this forward as a topic because in my own mind, I was really torn on it. Pep used to have this kind of reputation of not being a guy who brought through and developed young players. And I was thinking of Elliot Anderson still as this 20-year-old emerging guy, but he's not. He is no longer a boy. He is a man now. He's 23 years old. And if this is a massive caveat, if Pep Guardiola is still Manchester City manager next year, I want the guy who underneath Rodri, Silva, De Bruyne, Yaya Toure, Xavi, Iniesta, Sergio Busquets, Fabregas, maybe not Fabregas, we're talking best football, Toni Kroos. Philipp Lahm moved into midfield under Pep Guardiola. The guy makes great midfielders into world-class midfielders. True. And that is I think that's a pull. If Pep is there, that is a pull that I would struggle
But how long is Pep Guardiola even going to be there? And what is it going to look like for Manchester City post-Pep Guardiola? Because whether it's Maresca who comes in, whether it's Xabi Alonso, that is still uncertain times for Manchester City. For the first time in their recent history, it could be, it could be tough waters to navigate for them. And I'm not saying that Elliot Anderson will sit there and be like, oh, I couldn't possibly go to Manchester City. But I think you have to weigh that up. And Manchester United now, if they do have Michael Carrick, I'm not saying Michael Carrick is a bigger pull than Pep Guardiola as well, but it seems like things are starting to calm down. And that might be an appeal to be part of this Manchester United team that are going to go for greatness again, that are going to want to compete for Premier League trophies, versus City who are just like, they've done it a few times, it's not as exciting for them. Whereas to be part of the history of the best team in England, to be part of their resurgence, to play a key role in it, that means a lot. And
Angelina's already building Elliot Anderson a statue outside Old Trafford.
100%. Yeah.
But they're not competing in Europe this season. They will next year, obviously making it back to Champions League. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Will there be enough depth next season to compete in both the Premier League, Champions League, and also whatever domestic cup competitions?
At the moment, no. At the moment, definitely not. And I think you can make an argument for every area on the pitch. They need either somebody new in the starting 11 or they need a backup. Even the goalkeeper, who's been fantastic, they still need to figure out who the backup is, because I ain't having Bayandé and I ain't having Onana. That gives me I have PTSD.
I was doing a terrible Rihanna joke. Carry on.
How many players do you think this summer? We talk. The emphasis obviously is on Elliot Anderson, but as you said,
in a perfect world, 7 or 8.
7 or 8 signings.
I think realistically,
no worries of a Liverpool summer if that happens.
You are.
No worries of a Liverpool summer if that happens.
No, of course not. We're not as silly as Liverpool. Don't you worry. Be absolutely fine.
Where would they find the financial capabilities for 7 or 8? Because you talk about the players that will be gone. Casemiro, you're getting him off the books, but you're not selling him. Ugarte, you're not going to get what you sold for him. And yes, you're going to get Champions League money, but is that going to be enough for 7 or 8 signings?
This is the thing. You're getting the Champions League money. You're getting Casemiro, who's the highest paid player. You're getting him off the wage books. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Marcus Rashford. He will become the highest paid once Casemiro's contract expires. If you can get him off the books, there's a few players out on loan. You'd like to think that you can tie up the Rasmus Højlund situation. I think also it's a tough one because you look at people like Mason Mount. Ideally, you want him out, but who is actually going to pay the money for him and pay his wages? So
I saw a report his wages are going to go back up because Manchester United made it back to Champions League. He's going to go back to £200,000 a week.
Yeah, to maybe 250. Yeah, it's insane. So I think you do have to be realistic, and that's where it may be that you get a player like an Elliot Anderson. I mean, Nottingham Forest, they want a bidding war. They're going to put the price up as high as they can to see what happens. But if you can get someone like an Elliot Anderson through the door, then other areas you are going to have to go down the pecking order a little bit. If you want a centre-back, for example, you're probably not going to be going for the most expensive. You are going to have to compromise in certain areas. But I actually have faith in the people that are doing the recruitment at Manchester United, just because it's gone well at the moment. But who knows? They'll probably prove me wrong.
Fascinating chat. Elliot Anderson, where you going? Let us know, pal. talkSPORT S Word on Instagram, on X, and on YouTube as well. The brilliant Masters, Fatty and Angelina Kelly joining us in the studio.
Thank you as always.
Thank you so much to you. Brilliant stuff. We've got some more great shows coming this week. I'm forgetting who all the guests are, so just check out on our socials and we'll let you know there.
Great way to sign
Like, subscribe, get in the chat. This has been the S Word from talkSPORT.
Peace.
Big name reaction from both sides of the pond. The S Word from talkSPORT.